How about this? A Sunday preview show, game plan time. It is Orange Blue today. That's Sammy and Andrew Mason talking Denver Broncos football with you. And Mace, before we talk Broncos football, you and I got to talk a little Sunday recap here too, man.
Yeah, and one of the consequences of all the results on Sunday is, you take a look around and there's only one unbeaten team in the AFC. There are 4 teams sitting at 3-1. Cease, if the Broncos go in there and get a dub on Monday night, they're just fine. They're in perfectly fine position. There's nothing to worry about. They're maybe not as ahead as you'd want to be, but they're not falling behind. They're within striking range. Everything can be okay. Certainly, the Giants did the Broncos a huge solid early on Sunday afternoon. Jackson Dart winning his debut game for the Giants and taking the best of the Chargers on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, taking down the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think we learned a lot about the Colts today. We'll talk about that and the impact on the Broncos. I think we learned a lot about this Broncos team. Thank you for holding down the fort while I was on assignment. And now we are back, and we're here to talk about this action. Chargers are no longer undefeated. We do see kind of the creation of perhaps a monster in a Marion Hampton because they fed him the ball, and it paid off in a big way. Still with Quentin Johnston there, still with Keenan Allen, of course, but they go down and no longer among the unbeaten. We'll get to Kansas City and Las Vegas in a little bit, but that's the big news from a Broncos perspective. You no longer have an undefeated team, just kind of boat racing you within your division.
Yeah. And frankly, I mean, something that you're not expecting. And you actually look around the AFC West, and we'll get to the Raiders game, but just anytime you can get that little bonus of a division foe losing an interconference game like that, Bears beating the Raiders, Giants beating the Chargers, that's a nice little bonus right there. That's particularly helpful. I mean, you lose a division game, then someone in your division got a win, so it's just kind of, you don't know if that really helps you or hurts you, right? Like when the Chargers beat the Chiefs, it's like, oh, everyone's happy the Chiefs lost. It's like, well, is that really the result you wanted? You don't know. But when the Giants beat the Chargers, it's helpful. When the Bears get a blocked field goal at the end over the Raiders, it's helpful. So by and large, you got 2/3 of the results that you wanted today if you're the Broncos. And you've got a chance to be right there within a game of first place again on Monday night. It was a pretty good day for the Broncos.
The nice thing, Mace, about week 4, and it's not the quarter pole because the quarter pole's at the end and they don't play 16 anymore anyway. But you kind of get a read on everybody. You can get a read on the Colts now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You couldn't really do that in week 2. You can get a read on the Ravens. Oh my God. Chiefs and Ravens, one of those teams is going to be 1-3, and it happens to be Baltimore now as Kansas City wallops them. So, you kind of, and there's a lot of football left, but you kind of get a read on everybody here. And based on the Chargers and the Colts, the 2 losses for the Broncos, so heartbreaking, I look at what both those teams are doing, and I go, okay, yeah, Broncos can hang with those, good to very good teams. That's pretty much the level they're going to be on, not the Bills level. And certainly nobody else is on the Bills level, certainly not Baltimore.
I mean, I'd say this for the Colts. The Colts beat themselves today.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the Colts are fundamentally a very good team that they're going to sit there and they fly back to Indiana tonight and they're going to kick themselves. They are a very good team, but they might be the dumbest team in football because how do you make the same mistake that you made last year? How does Adonai Mitchell make the same mistake that Jonathan Taylor made? Yeah. Putting not exact same form, but putting the ball out before you cross the goal line. How do you do that? How can you be so stupid as to do that? And then having a holding penalty on Taylor's touchdown. I mean, my goodness, it's hard to imagine a player having a singularly worse game than Mitchell did today. I mean, yeah. Sometimes you can't say. Sometimes this, that. Everyone did something to lose the game. You can pretty clearly say Mitchell lost the game for the Colts today.
Oh yeah,
pretty clear. I don't think it's
firmly.
Yeah, firmly. It's on him. They should be 4-0, but he lost it for them, and it's. I don't think it's any clearer than that. But they can. I mean, that's the thing. They're gonna if they fall one game short of home field advantage or one game short of winning the division, because the Jaguars are sitting there at 3-1 right now. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty strong win they got going out to the 49ers and getting a road win there in San Francisco against, Brock Purdy's back in the lineup for the 49ers. So it wasn't like, oh, you beat them with Mac Jones. No, you got them at pretty close to full strength. And the Jaguars, I mean, you and I talked about the Jaguars, Cease, and pointed to that game for the Broncos in December and said, that's one that might end up being tougher than perhaps you think it was going to be when you got the schedule. And the Jaguars look like they could be a feisty team that hangs around a while and stays in playoff contention for a while. So that's a game in December that might end up being tougher than you realized at the start of the year, and which now you see the Chiefs kind of getting back on their feet. Now, as you get to December and you look at the closing stretch that goes Packers, Jaguars, Chiefs, Chargers. Now, while you feel pretty good about the Broncos and what they have the next few weeks, now if you kind of look over the horizon, you say, okay, that finishing 4-game stretch might be pretty tough. So the next few weeks here, this is where you want to start putting some acorns away in terms of wins. Start stacking some dubs here, because it might be a little tougher to get some of those toward the end of the season, given the competition that you're going to have in front of you.
Yeah, start squirreling stuff away right now, just in case you need it a little bit later on. And
you want to have the luxury of going 2-2 down the stretch and being fine.
Being okay, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want that plan, but you want to, okay, if it happens to go that way, then you're good. And again, a lot of football left, but we're learning more. And now kind of the preseason portion of the regular season is done.
Yeah.
It is concluded tomorrow night with 2 stupid Monday night games. I hate 2 Monday night games. But anyway, with Broncos and Bengals, plus a little bit of lanyap, as Brandon Stokely would say, Mase. Because I personally love Saquon Barkley. Hate that he's going to be against the Broncos next week. But he gets tackled against the Buccaneers, and it looks like a little ankle thing. Now, he stays in the game.
Yeah.
But let's just keep an eye on that injury report leading up to this game. Broncos got to take care of business against the Bengals. We are not overlooking the Bengals at all. But I was watching that Buccaneers game with the Eagles, and my man Keith, he's from Philadelphia, so he was texting me like, oh, fly, Eagles, fly. I'm like, okay, yeah, but man, they're winning ugly. They're undefeated, but my God, do they win ugly. And A.J. Brown doesn't do anything. Slim Reaper Devontae Smith doesn't do anything. So, yeah, just a little early scouting for the Broncos' next opponent.
Philadelphia with 200 net yards today.
Whew.
I mean, the Bucks basically, they absorbed the blocked punt there right out of the gate. Old friend Riley Dixon really with not much of a chance when the rush came up the middle on him. And that basically knocked the Bucks off kilter for a quarter and a half. And a tale as old as time, when you dig yourself that big of a hole early, sometimes it's just too much to overcome. And the Bucks they frittered around and played a quarter and a half of bad football, and 2.5 quarters of pretty good football wasn't enough to overcome that in the end. So credit to Philadelphia for getting it done, doing just enough to win, and getting out of the blocks and making the play on special teams that really kind of turned things early. And of course also getting the key interception there in the fourth quarter, got just enough of a hand on Baker Mayfield's pass to just enough of a deflection there to get the takeaway there in the end zone. But Philadelphia, that offense looked mortal. And you mentioned Saquon Barkley. The thing that you know is that when you have a little bit of a tweak of an ankle, you can kind of gut through it sometimes, but that next morning, sometimes you'll wake up and feel a little bit different. It's what you were worried about with Pat Surtain a couple of weeks back. Fortunately, the Broncos dodged the bullet there and he was fine. And I'm sure the Eagles will hope for the same thing with Saquon Barkley. But really, I mean, 3.4
plays too from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, 3.4 yards per play for Philadelphia today. And you saw, like you mentioned, the big plays and, just Philadelphia was, for most of the game today, defensively, Philadelphia was a step slow. And it's a young D. That was the gamble that Philadelphia took defensively. It wasn't like they didn't make some moves. Like they paid heavily to keep Zach Bond, but they kept Bond, but they couldn't retain everybody. It's a young defense around him, and you look in the secondary, and they're getting torched. Remember, that's a Bucs offense that didn't have Mike Evans today, and they were
Chris Godwin just coming back.
Godwin coming back, Mecca Ibuka just torched them today. So you're gonna have some shots. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a very good Eagles team, and as you see, it's a team that knows how to win. That's another thing about them. Despite being in transition on the defensive side, we see that this is a Philadelphia team that knows how to win, and it's teaching. You have kind of the veterans that it seemed to be veterans like Hurts, like Barkley, like Bond, that seem to be teaching their young guys how to win. And that's something, I mean, I'd say that's probably worth 3 to 5 points for Philadelphia every time they take the field. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't look at them as unbeatable going into this game. They can be had. Again, we don't want to look past the Bengals just yet.
Not at all.
But there's a path to victory for the Broncos in this game. There very much is. So that's something I take from it. But the lesson from the Bucs game is, and it's a lesson for the Broncos that they should have taken from last week against the Chargers, and hopefully they'll apply on Monday night, is don't fritter around early. Like they spent the first quarter and a half last week just slow out of the blocks. You gotta come out attacking, come out swinging, come out playing solid football instead of being slow at the start.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that the schedule is different now, but I'm looking at our handy-dandy card of our schedules, and we both had them at 3-2 after the Philly game. Now, we had both as a loss against Philly, but if you win this one against Cincy, you win that one against Philly, Mase, we're right on track. We're 3-2 after 5.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, it's an aggregate. It's the entire thing. Lots of football left. The Broncos won't keep shooting themselves in the foot repeatedly, certainly with penalties. And I'd say as we start like the game plan for the Broncos, yes, run the ball. Yes, that we'll talk about Mims and all that. But for me, just eliminate a guy like Trout can't have those penalties. Eliminate those penalties this week. They
have to. The particularly the self-inflicted ones, the pre-snap ones. But even with Trout, it's some of them are happening during the run of play. I mean, he had the face mask a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that's part of the equation too. And he's like someone like him, it's a surprise because he's somebody who usually plays pretty clean, smart brand of football. Let's face it, some players, like Talanoa Hufanga, he plays on the edge. So he gets an unnecessary roughness penalty. That's the way he attacks. You don't want to take the aggression out of him, so he's going to get a penalty every now and again, and you're going to be okay with that. And I think Vance Joseph kind of alluded to that when I asked him about it, in saying, hey, that's also a reaction to the whistle not being blown earlier when Pat Surtain and then Singleton came in there and they were Quentin Johnston was getting pushed back. You got to play to the whistle. You got to always play to the whistle. And if you get called for an unnecessary roughness penalty when you're just trying to finish a play and guys didn't play the whistle earlier, you kind of live with that. But you've got to cut things down in general, because this team is playing on offense. They're playing from behind too often. And as Mike McGlinchey said on Saturday, if you're playing from behind, you can't really establish the run, because if you're sitting there with 2nd and 15 and 2nd and 16, it's not the ideal situation to run. To get the running game going, you have to keep this offense on schedule. So, Sean Payton sometimes, sometimes he has a little trouble kind of sticking with the run, and it's even more difficult to stick with the run when you're facing 2nd and 16 instead of 2nd and 6.
Right.
You've got to stay on schedule. When you think of keys to this game and the game plan, like what the Broncos have to do to not only win but dominate, as the topic of this show says, you got to avoid the penalties and you've got to stay on schedule. 2nd and 6 is fine. 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, that's fine, because then you're staying on schedule.
Yep. Rhythm. I want him to be like John Travolta on Saturday Night Live, baby. Just out there, just dancing, and you're amazed, and you can't keep your eyes off it because it's a bad defense, and a win is a win, okay? And if they win, then that's all that matters, and I'll be on the post-game show being like, they won. I think optics would be nice. Again, I will take an ugly win. I'll take a Philadelphia win, all right? Yeah. Super, super ugly, but it's a win. I will take one of those wins against the Bengals, but against that bad defense, man, I want this offense to click. We know the talent is there. Mm-hmm. We know that Bo Nix is better than the sum of what he's playing this year. I thought the last game he was better and played a clean game. But it's like there's better there with this offense. It would be nice to get them into a rhythm, something that you brought up this last week. And it was a discussion amongst, the media types and even at the podium. The discussion about rhythm was big this week. So no penalties. Guess what that does? Get you into a rhythm.
Yeah. And to kind of go over the Bengals defense, just some top line numbers to tell you kind of what you're facing this week in terms of the ability to get on rhythm. Okay. Total defense, they go into the week 25th, yards per play 20th, rushing defense 21st, average per rush 20th, passing defense 25th, average per pass play 20th, sack rate 24th, first downs per game allowed 28th, third down defense tied for 28th, red zone defense tied for 22nd. Okay, I mean, all of these things, they're below average. They don't really have something on which they can hang their hats so far this season. This is a chance offensively to get back on your feet and get some rhythm and get things going. They'll give you some chances. That being said, the news with Marvin Mims Jr. on Saturday that I talked about on the previous edition of Orange and Blue today, now that he's questionable, that could potentially hurt, taking a weapon like him out of the equation.
Yeah, even just for influence.
Yeah.
Just because of that speed, you got to respect the speed. You need to know where 19's at when he's on the field, and the way that you can use him from the backfield, the way that he can be used on end arounds. You have speed with Troy Franklin, to be sure. Mims is just, he's got insane speed. Like Troy Franklin's fast, but I don't think he has insane speed like Marvin Mims. So that will be interesting to monitor that situation. What's the feel like with Mims? Do you think he plays tomorrow?
I mean, look, we saw him on the field at the start of practice. Like, we didn't learn that he was injured until after we left the building. Like, the only thing is, we didn't see him in the locker room after practice. Like, so, because of course, it's open locker room after Sean Payton talks, and we didn't see him in there. So when you land on the injury report on the Football Friday, which was Saturday this week, and you haven't been on it before, I mean, you can put 2 and 2 together. Something happened during the practice, which meant that he was limited because he was out there at the start, everything was copacetic, and then land on the injury report during. So it's a big concern, and mum's the word.
Mum's the word. So we'll be anxiously awaiting. Well, actually, Mase will be waiting for your report because you'll be at the stadium tomorrow and you'll get those inactives, and then we'll know more about Marvin Mims and also Evan Ingram. You talked about that on yesterday's shows too. Evan Ingram being out
he's
there.
Good to go. Yeah, he's not even questionable. He is completely good to go.
Yeah, nice
Marvin,
they used him.
Yeah. I mean, it would like four
Talked
catches
about it all off season.
Yeah, 4 catches in the first couple of games, and that's not the pace at which Evan Ingram is accustomed to being used over the course of his career. 2 catches a game. That's not what he's been. I mean, as George Payton said back in February, Sean Payton's offenses are hell to defend when he's got that type of interior target in there. Well, if you're gonna have that guy, you have to make actual use of him. So here's a good opportunity potentially to get him involved. And then if he is involved and opponents have to take account of him, it's going to open things up elsewhere. That's the thing. Get him involved. Opportunities open up for Troy Franklin, for Cortland Sutton, etc., for the running. And also, you want to get the screen game going because, like it or not, folks, the screen game isn't going to go away in this offense. Here's another way to help open that up, too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's ways to be more effective. We're going to go up to about kickoff here, so we're almost halfway through today's show, which you know what that means. It's time for a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
Mase, you and I might be the only ones saying this.
Okay.
But I think everyone else needs to say it as well. Do not overlook or doubt or make fun of Jake Browning. He's going to sling it. He's going to keep slinging it. He has 2 superstar weapons, and Jamar Chase, obviously, top of the top. It's him and Justin Jefferson and Malik Neighbors. God bless America. Bad news on Malik Neighbors. We don't yet know the full extent of his injury, but it's probably
sounds bad.
ACL. Yeah,
sounds like a season ender. Yeah.
So it's gonna suck. And sorry, Jackson Dart. Go trade for DJ Moore. Anyway, do not overlook Jake Browning. Listen, we are taking him seriously. You and I have an appreciation for Jake Browning that I feel that others don't, because they just look at the last game against Minnesota and it's like, oh, he's a slappy. Not at all. No, that's a guy that is fearless when it comes to throwing the football. So you might get one. You might even return it for a touchdown. It's not going to stop him from being who he is.
And he'll throw at anybody.
Oh, PS2, yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing. So on Friday, I specifically asked Vance Joseph about the increase in targets at PS2 the last couple of games. So last year, Pat Surtain was targeted 3.25 times per game. The last 2 weeks, he's been targeted 14 times, so that's 7 per game. And so I asked about that, and I don't think you've had a chance to listen, so I want to get your reaction to VJ's response to my question. Here's VJ.
Well, we're forcing it there. They have to do that, and if they don't do that, it's going to cut half the offense in half. That's the plan that we have on our side of the ball. So they have to throw the ball to Pat on occasion, obviously, and when they do, I expect Pat to make the plays. He got a couple of targets last week. He got a bunch the week before, so we'll see. But that's the plan each week, to push the ball to Pat.
So what do you think of that? That more targets at Pat, that this is their intentional plan, that it's not a matter of, okay, Pat is on a guy and you're just eliminating that side of the field, that they are intentionally trying to get the ball more in his direction, that they want this type of thing where it's 7 targets in his direction per game.
Mm-hmm. First, I believe he's telling the truth. This isn't any sort of covering for Pat, nothing like that.
He is, because remember, sometimes he can be too honest.
Yeah, yes. Usually,
remember before the Baltimore game last year, he basically said what they were going to do, and they did, and of course, it didn't work out. But yeah, when he said that, I thought to myself, again, sometimes we all really like VJ, and sometimes he can be too honest up there. when he
Yeah.
answers questions.
Well, I think that was.
I
a very
appreciate the
honest
honesty, but it was a very honest answer that he gave.
I like the way you and I get him talking football because it's great to listen to him talk about football.
Yes.
So one, it's intentional and it's honest. Okay.
Yes.
And then two, I kind of like it. I
Yeah.
kind of like it a lot. Now it sucks because then people will be like, "Oh, PS2, DPOY." Like, okay, well that was different last year. They're playing it differently this year.
He wants to get him. He wants to get
Funnel.
the play. He wants to funnel it. And he wants to get the playmaker involved.
Yes.
So what this also tells you is their success equation involves takeaways, explosives in the other direction. That it's not so that okay. There's going to be some yards given up here, but maybe success for Pat Surtain in 2025. It's not defined by, okay, it's few completions at his expense. Maybe in the long term, it ends up being defined by, can we get 6 or 7 picks out of him? Maybe a couple going back in the other direction. That, I think, is something to consider here in terms of what he's talking about. Now, I did go look up something here. I went back through all of Pat Surtain's games. I'm using the data from sportradar.com, okay?
Okay.
And I went back to see, okay, yardage allowed by Pat Surtain. Okay. Would you like to know what the Broncos' record is in games when Pat Surtain has allowed at least 50 yards in receptions?
Okay. If he's allowed at least 50 yards in receptions, I mean the other team putting their foot on the gas.
Yeah.
I imagine it's a better record than I would think, because most people are going to be like, "Oh, it must be a bad record." I don't know. Tell me what it is.
2-12.
2-12. It is a bad record. Okay, there you go. All right.
And greater than 60 yards, it's 0-9. So 2-12, by the way, includes last week's game, and it includes the game 2 weeks ago against the Colts. Gave up 63 yards to the Colts. He gave up 51 yards last week to the Los Angeles Chargers. And I'm going to get the abacus out here and tell you that in those games, by the way, the Broncos defense gave up in the games of the 50 yards plus, the Broncos defense gave up an average of 26.1 points per game, compared with, in all other games, average AJ 16 to AJ 70. It's always great when I do math on the show. 18.2 points per game in all other games. So they give up almost 8 points per game more when he allows 50 yards or more in receptions compared to when he doesn't allow 50 yards or more.
Okay.
So that's, taking the win-loss out of it and just going by what the defense allows. That's a very interesting trend, I think.
That is an interesting trend we will be monitoring. Mace, may I ask you a philosophical question?
Sure.
And we do talk a lot off air. I don't know if some people would like our conversations off air, but that's okay. So we talked philosophy before, but I want to ask you this. A pick or a sack? Both are a play stopper, obviously, but a pick or a sack, what do you want? Because if they're angling for essentially what VJ is saying, back to VJ's comments, probably a few less sacks for more opportunities and interceptions.
Well, a pick's a takeaway.
Yeah.
I mean, a pick,
you have the ball.
A pick is more impactful. I mean, you'll take a pick all day because you're guaranteed to walk out of that with the ball.
They're getting
unless you fumble it on the return. But a pick is possession. Mm-hmm. And possession it's everything, right? I mean, you want the ball. They don't have it.
3/4 of the law.
Yeah, they don't have it. You do. You're squelching them. That is the thing. Get us the ball. Stop their opportunities. Now,
so based on that math, isn't what VJ is wanting to do make sense? Sacrificing a few of those sacks to get a few opportunities at picks.
Of course, the flip side of that is you've just had a couple of games where you haven't forced very many punts either. I mean,
Right.
you didn't force a punt at all 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, there are merits to it, but there also are potential downsides. I mean, remember, you have had, by the way, you go back to the last 3 games of last year, including the postseason. So you've now had, in the last 6 games, you've had 3 of them in which you forced 1 or fewer punts. You've had 2 of them with 0 punts in regulation, which, by the way, you've only had 5 times in the history of the franchise, and 2 of them are in the last 6 games. Again, like some of these trends that have been kind of alarming, that you're hoping to the next couple of weeks here against the Bengals and against the Eagles, like we mentioned, 200 net yards down in Tampa on Sunday. You're hoping to start squashing them a little bit and getting back on the right side of things. There's an opportunity here for this defense in the next couple of weeks to start getting back on its feet, just like for the offense as well, and start getting out of some of these trends that have been lingering for roughly a half season for this D.
Yep. Gonna be interesting tomorrow against Cincinnati, and Jamar Chase, Pat Surtain, popcorn is ready.
Ooh, it's
Movie butter popcorn too, Mace. Not the regular Jiffy Pop. I'm talking movie butter, hands greasy, palms are sweaty.
yeah, mom spaghetti.
All that and a bag of chips. Oh, dude, it's gonna be awesome. And you're gonna be in the building tomorrow night. The electric atmosphere. Who was it, Bo or Court? Somebody was asked about, like, I think Court was asked about, like, the home cooking.
Yeah.
All right, Broncos Country. We need y'all to show up big time, and I know you will.
Yeah, Monday night, it's going to be noisy. It's going to be raucous. I mean, really, the only thing that got taken away from this really was Joe Burrow being injured, and in terms of the spotlight for this matchup, that was unfortunate, of course, because that was certainly when they put this game on the schedule. You were looking forward to how zesty a rematch this was going to be of one of the better games in the NFL last year, that Saturday afternoon game in late December in Cincinnati. So it isn't quite the rematch that everyone expected, but it still has plenty of firepower when you've got T. Higgins and you've got Jamar Chase out there and then Trey Hendrickson on the other side. It's, the Bengals still bring plenty of juice to this game, and certainly after the performance they had last week, they're going to be really looking to atone for that in a big way. So it's a week-to-week league, and things can do a 180. Just look at the Chargers and how it reversed for them, and how things reversed for the Giants after the desultory game they had 7 days ago, and they went out against the Chargers and won.
Look at how the Browns look today after beating the Packers last week.
Yeah. I mean, you get whiplash from this.
Around.
Yeah.
It's right there.
So that's the beauty of this thing, man. So look past the Bengals at your peril. So be ready.
People also want to know, Mace, about your opinion on the unis tomorrow.
The monochromatic look is never my favorite. It's just, all blue. It's never going to be my thing. I associate the monochromatic look with college. That's like when they wear orange on orange, I think of Clemson, for example. So I would have loved the white helmet, blue jersey, white pants, blue socks for this game. I just think the all blue is a little bit much. But apparently a lot of people like it. A lot of people are excited about this, so, good for them. It's just not my thing.
And they're doing blue socks too?
Yeah, it's all blue. It's too much blue.
Now the chat room knows you better than I do, because they're like, Mace hates the blue socks.
Yeah, so it's like it's the yoga pants, it's the monochromatic. It'll never be my favorite uniform. I mean, I guess maybe they'll play Blue Monday over the loudspeaker, and that might make it a little bit better. But I don't know.
The original or the remake by Orgy? Because I actually
gotta
prefer
be
the remake.
I'm all about the original. Sorry,
the original.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you're in that British invasion. T-Dog asks who
the
picks
second
the
British
uniform?
invasion. Yeah, the early '80s New Wave British invasion. Yes.
Yes. T-Dog asks who picks the uniforms.
Well, in this case, when you talk about the jerseys and the helmets, it's an organizational decision. Pants and socks are generally, I've been told, those are directed and driven by the locker room. So so when you see like the white pants, white socks with some looks, that's generally coming out of the locker room that they're coming to that. The white pants, white socks is very in vogue. I don't know why. It looks like white pants, white socks together looks like it belongs in ballet to me. So it's not enough. It's not enough. You need the contrasting socks. So that's why you see when you see like the pants and socks a certain way. That's generally being driven by player decision. So if I owned a team, I'd be like, this is the uniform. This is what you're wearing.
Don't interfere with anything else, but just tell them
like,
this is what you're
I'd be
wearing.
like, this is the uniform. This is what you're wearing. Sorry, that. When I was a kid, and I mean, you could wear like your own wristbands and headbands and stuff like that, but the uniform was the uniform. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. We're going to watch it, and we're going to hopefully love the results. Be on air tomorrow.
Well, if they win, I guess who cares what they look like, right? That's the thing. It's
a W is a W. I know John Elway didn't like the old blues because he said they look like blueberries.
He hated because they wore the all blue for a preseason game in 1997.
Okay.
And then we did not see all blue again until 2003 Monday Night Football against the Patriots. I think that's when we saw it again. And then for a while, most of the time we saw all blue from that point forward the most frequent time you saw it was for primetime games. That was the most frequent time you saw it. And then of course it would come back for special occasions, like they wore all blue, for example, in that memorable game at Dallas in 2013, 51-48.
Payton sneak.
Yes. So so that's the thing. Like, to me, even though it's obviously the first time in this new template, it's not a novelty to wear all blue. It's like, it's not anything new. Like, it's been done before. White, to me, going white helmets, blue jerseys, white pants, blue socks would have been fun because they've never worn that look before. So I was a little disappointed that they didn't do that. That they didn't try for something new in this game. Instead, all blue. It's like, it's been done.
Yeah, we'll be there. Mase will be in the building. I'll be doing the post game show. We will have a probably somewhat brief OBT tomorrow. It's pregame. It's right before the game, so we'll keep it there for you. Keeping up our tradition in the regular season of being a 7-day-a-week show, and we appreciate you all very much. We are orange and blue today. Mase and Cecil. Frosty and Saucy is what the chat calls us.
Yes.
Well, somebody called me a clown because I actually support Bo Nix. So anyway, Mase, how can folks help us out on YouTube, even those who love my clownish ways?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit the notification bell
so that you
never miss
vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammy saying OBT's a BFD. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?
For over 20 years, my family, like so many of you, has proudly been part of Broncos Country.
Every season, we feel the energy, passion, and commitment that defines this team.
And now we are honored to be the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos.